Hi everyone, this is Aarti from One Little Dreamer. Welcome to the Christmas on a Dime YouTube Hop. For those of you who don't know what the Christmas on a Dime YouTube Hop is, I would suggest you start at either D Armstead's channel, which is DK Crafts by D, or at Virginia's channel, who was the first person who kicked off the hop. She explained it quite well as to what we're going to be doing on the Christmas on a Dime YouTube hop. I'll put the links to their channels below for, so you guys can go and see. Now, it's been a while since I've done a video, but I'm hoping this comes out okay. And I have quite a few things to show you guys. So I'm going to kind of try and take this a little quickly. Basically, the whole concept of the Christmas hop or the Christmas on a Dime hop was to make as many items as we could with a $20 budget, and we could use some items from our stash. Now, different people have, who are going to be part of this hop have different takes on the hop, and I'm going to show you a few different things that you can do with a $20 budget. Some of them are going to, be just about $20, and some of them are going to be, will cost you $1 or $2 to make. So you can mix and match, and, it's not a one-size-fits-all for everybody who has a $20 budget. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is a doily banner. So who doesn't love banners, right? They look gorgeous on your walls next to your Christmas tree. Now, I have done one which says love, but you can do hope, joy, whatever floats your boat. Now, before I even start telling you about what I've done for the hop, the whole purpose for me was to use whatever was in my stash rather than going out and buying new items. And so far, I think I spent maybe $2 on items which I did not already own. But I will also give you a breakdown of items that, how much they will cost if you were to go and buy them in the store. I've had most of this stuff from last year's Christmas, and some that I've, a hoarder like me has everything. So, okay, so now I have a lot of vintage doilies that I've picked up at various times from thrift stores. So I made a doily banner. Now, I used 1, 2, 3 big doilies, and I've used 4 of each of the same doilies. So if you've found a few doilies in your thrift stores or Goodwill or somewhere, you can go ahead and use those. And I've used a very thin small lace which I gathered under the flower, and the flower is one of those 2.5-inch shabby flowers. I put a little piece of bling, but you can of course substitute it for a pearl and what are those things called? Those little acrylic buckles. So you can use a buckle and a flat back pearl, which are very cheap. And I got these. I had bought them a long time ago, but if you were to buy these little letters, they cost, I think, $1 for 2 of them. So, I used 4 letters here. Each package from Joann's comes with 2 of the same letter. So you will have 2 L's, 2 O's, 2 V's, and 2 E's. So in total, they cost me about $2. And of course, I use coupons whenever I can. So in effect, they would have cost me half of what because I only used half the packages. And I used a little bit of leftover applique. You can use any kind of applique that you want. You can substitute any of these items for any other items that you already own. Now, this was the one expensive thing that I used in this. It's the little trim that I used to have in my store for $5 a yard. And I think I used almost a whole yard on just the banner. So I went around this, and for the string part of it, I just used these cheapy string pearls that you get for $2.50 for 10 yards in Joann's, and some of this, which I think practically everybody in the world owns, and some cheap lace. And I used 2 little flowers over here at the ends. These are paper flowers. if you don't already have them, you can make your own. There are like thousands of YouTube tutorials on how to do it. These were something that I had bought last year. They come in a pack like this. This was $1. I think it was in the $1.50 bin, and they have 6 in there. I've used 3 for the banner, and I still have 3 left for making a card if I wish to. So most of these are the same. I use the big flowers in these and the small ones in these, and a couple of leaves, you know, from some lace that I have, leftover lace, I would say. And then I used a leftover piece of applique, and this actually had a stain under the flower, the applique, so this was a good way to cover up the stain and, you know, use it. Again, I went around and, you know the drill. So this is the V, and that is the E. So you can see what it looks like. I'm trying to get everything in the camera frame and trying to rush. This is probably going to be like a 3-part video for me. And again, on the other end, I did the same thing. I let a little bit hang off the edge, so whoever's hanging it will have that little tassel at the end. It's a little festive. You can add a little sparkle to these using a little sparkle paint, or, you know, using those little things. What are they called? You know what they're called. Those little tubes that you get which have sparkle in them. So you can use them to glitter up your letters if you want. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to put this to the side. Oh, before I forget, if you had to make this by buying everything, it would cost you somewhere around $10. I mean, including the cost of the doilies, the letters, the bling, the little leftover appliques, the flowers, everything. And when I'm giving you the costs, I'm doing the costs based on the amount that I have used, rather than the cost of buying like 2-3 yards of the same thing. So just 2 pieces of applique would probably cost you $1 or less. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you. Now these, one of the biggest problems for me for Christmas is gifts, because not being a Christian, most of my friends are Christian, and therefore, you know, while I get caught up in the Christmas craze, it more than decorating my own house, it's about giving gifts to people that I, you know. Now, many of you also have co-workers and people outside your homes that you want to give gifts to. So, now I'm going to show you a couple of very cheap, under $2 gifts. Now, these are prayer candles that I bought from the dollar store, which is the Dollar Tree. And I think Joann's also has them for $1. And what I did was I used tissue paper and Mod Podge. So I used Mod Podge, and then I glued the tissue paper on. You can see the seam where I have glued it together. And then I Mod Podged the top of the tissue paper as well to prevent it from peeling or tearing anywhere. Now, this was some pretty tissue paper that I had found at TJ Maxx, but you can use any kind of tissue paper, any colors of your choice, printed, plain, whatever floats your boat. And then I had these little leftover pieces of lace from, actually some of this lace was given to me by Virginia, and I had, you know, she had sent me less than a yard or so, of some of these little laces, because I just wanted a few scraps to play around with, and she was kind enough to send me, she had sent me actually quite a lot of laces, but some of them, so I was using them kind of sparingly because I didn't have a lot of black lace. And so I used maybe 6 inches around this along the top, and I used this. This is the little acrylic mesh trim that you get, and you can, you know, if you don't have this, you can use, if you don't have this or the silver one, you can use pearls, you can use whatever you have in your stash. You can even just do without it. And this was just a little shabby flower that I glued on there, and some burlap, some twine. So that is a finished product, and these are great for, you know, people that you don't know what to give to, like co-workers, that like handmade, that like your handmade things, but you don't want to spend a lot of money giving them gifts and stuff. So you can give them this, wrap it nicely in cellophane or something, and they can actually take this to mass. And the cool thing about this is that although it has like 80 hours of burning time, and so it's not going to get over anytime soon, but once the candle is over, they can use it like a vase. So it becomes a pretty little vase. So I made 2 of those. So these, with supplies and everything, except for the cost of probably the Mod Podge, were under $2 each, I would say, because it cost me $1 to buy the candle, and if I had to buy all these things separately, they would have cost me another $1 because I used very little bits of them. So that, and this is most of the people who are doing the hop would tell you that the whole point is to try and utilize what you have, and then have spend money only on the items that you don't have already and that you desperately need. Try and substitute as much as possible on as many items as you can. Now the next thing is also a gift. This is also an altered candle, or rather I got this is a little glass jar that I got from the Dollar Tree again. I love the Dollar Tree, they have the best stuff. And I used some burlap, some leftover burlap that I had. You get it in a roll. If you were to buy the whole roll, which is a 10-yard roll, it costs $9.99 full price at Michael's. And if you want to use a coupon, it'll cost you half of that, so maybe $5. And you also get different widths. I'm talking about the 6-inch one that I had gotten like maybe a couple of years back, and it's still going and going and going. I don't think I'm ever going to finish it. So anyway, now I used some flat lace along the whole, I first glued on the burlap, then I used the flat lace, and this is the forget-me-not lace from my store. And you don't have to use this, you can use any kind of lace that you want, that you have. So since I didn't use a 6-inch width, I had strips of it from the edge, which I glued on over here. And then I used the same acrylic mesh trim. I just used 2 pieces. I have the big 24 row one, which is very popular, and I think everybody in the crafting world probably already owns it, but if they don't, it's very cheap to procure. So I cut it into 2 row strips, and I glued that on top, and then a shabby flower. And here you can see, instead of using bling, I have used the buckles with a flat back pearl, and then I use these 2 leaves. So now this is a multi-purpose jar, I would say. You can use it as a candle. You can glue, I have glued a dollar store candle inside. This again, so the total cost of what was out of pocket, apart from things that I already owned, was $2. If you were to buy everything, it would maybe cost you, I'd say, $3 to $4. Or you can, put a handmade flower here, and substitute these for pearls or whatever flat lace you have. And out of pocket, it would probably only cost you $2. Now, what you can also do is, if you don't want to give people candles, you can make something like this with this kind of a jar, or you can use a mason jar and do the same thing, and put your gifts inside. You can put candy or cookies or whatever else you want, put it in a cellophane bag, tie a bow at the top, and you're done. You have some pretty gifts. These are very fast and very easy to make, so you can make like 20 of them in probably an hour's time. So you will have, so in $20 you can probably make 10 of them, assuming that you have the other supplies. If you don't have them, you can probably make maybe 4 or 5. Now you can also change the candle to whatever other candle that you want if you choose to. Dollar Tree has like a bunch of different ideas. The third thing that I'm going to show you in this video is some table decor. Now this was one of, let me get the brighter colored one so that you guys can see. I actually made 2 of them, and each of them cost me about $10 to make. So these are cute to give as hostess gifts, and they're also very fun to have in your own home because they smell great. Now these, I bought this little wooden thing from Michael's. I think their original cost was $5, and I used a coupon and got it for $2.50. And it's a plaque originally, but it worked great as a tray. And what I did was I painted it. You can buy paint for like 50 cents if you don't already own paint. You can get 50-cent paint bottles from Walmart, from Michael's, Joann's, a bunch of different places. You don't have to use very expensive paint. Now these were from the Dollar Tree. The candle was from the Dollar Tree, and these 2 were also from the Dollar Tree. So I spent $1, $2, $3, $4 plus $2.50. That's $6.50, and I spent $1 on the potpourri that I bought from the Dollar Tree. Now I got the potpourri, the vanilla scented potpourri for the candles, as well as the potpourri. Everything smells vanilla so that there are no mixed smells. So it cost me $7.50 out of pocket and $8 if you include the paint. Now again, these were things that I used from my supplies, and this candle looks exactly like this one. I've done the same thing and glued it to the center. And these little things, all I did was I used the same things, the same acrylic thing around this, and tied a little bow using some twine. Actually, I didn't even use twine. I had taken off a couple of strands of these which had come loose off the burlap, and I used the same thing to tie it around the little candle so that everything coordinates. And these smell awesome. So you can have these as your table centers. Of course, you can add some, berries, or substitute the potpourri for, other holiday table scatter and stuff. And you'll have a pretty, so I made one in beige. And I made these in very dark colors to match my table. And this is the one in red, which is more festive. And of course, all the candles light up. There's no fire hazard. And that was one of my major concerns with the potpourri, was that I didn't want, my whole table and my dinner and everything going up in flames. So that's what they look like when you take them off. You can light them up and they look awesome. Okay, and they smell really, really good. They make my whole house smell really good because of the potpourri. And of course, if you don't, the reason I did not add a lot of holiday stuff to it, like, cranberries and other table scatter, which is very holiday themed, is because after the holidays I can go ahead and continue using them for the rest of the year. So $8.50 was what I spent out of pocket, plus I would say $1.50 worth of supplies, glue and all that stuff. So $10 each is what I spent on these 2. Now I'm going to try and post pictures of these so that you guys can get a better idea, but I just wanted to show you guys what you can do. So I made 2 of these for $20. You can make 1 of these and then also go ahead and make like 5 of these as gifts in your $20. I'm going to show you one more quick thing before, or actually I'm going to, because I'm going to hit the 20-minute mark, I'm going to stop this video and I'll record a second video as part 2. I'll see you there.